Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame fans, whenever you are tuning in or listening to this week's Mike Goolsby Show, watching live, watching back. Just appreciate you for making us a part of your day. I'm Mike Singer. I produce our YouTube stuff and run our recruiting operation at blueandgold.com. And handsome fella on me, the bearded fella, by the way, Mike Goolsby, former Notre Dame captain linebacker. How you doing, man?
I'm good. And Mike, when we started doing this 5 years ago, this was not gray. That's how long we've been doing it.
Well, you got in the business of following Notre Dame football a lot closer than you were before, so that might be a factor as well, Mr. Goolsby. But
that's right. Now that we're in the playoff, maybe it'll revert back to its normal color. But no, good to be here. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Sorry we had to reschedule.
Not me this time.
Yeah. Singer last week, me this week. I had a 15-hour drive home from Eastern Tennessee yesterday, and I thought I could get in and knock out the podcast, but holiday traffic took me longer than I thought. So, and then lastly, before we get this thing underway, I want to give a shout out to Cardinal Mooney High School down there in Florida. Jared Clark, a former teammate of mine, classmate of mine at Notre Dame, head coach down there of the Cougars. They're going to the state championship game.
Nice.
Asked him to send me some gear, so I thought I'd rep it tonight.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah, man.
And as I'd like to mention, they have a target of Notre Dame, Elijah Golden, a 2026 defensive lineman. So,
yeah, and I think
I might have to interview Coach Clark here soon. You know?
A lot. Was it on 3 had him as the number 1 ranked D lineman in the 2026 class?
247, yeah.
Yeah, so I can connect the two of you, and I think Al Washington might have made some inroads recently with Coach Clark. So it's just funny how everything comes full circle.
Mike, it's the start of the show. We already got super chats. So Eric dropped the $10. Really appreciate this. Says, love the Mills Thunder Punch. I haven't liked the Notre Dame team this much in a long time. Fun to watch. Love Price, Leonard X. Watts, the defense in general. Future looks bright at Notre Dame. Completely agree. And this was one of the topics that I did want to discuss. So, Eric, appreciate you kind of just making this jump in line here. You said this is fair and justified. Actually, very impressed with the awareness and accuracy of this punch. Stay off players' knees, F around and find out. Yeah, for folks watching on podcasts, listening to the podcast, there's a USC offensive lineman who falls to the ground and is grabbing at Riley Mills' knee. And then once Riley figures it out, just instinctively turns around and just yeets a punch right in the face mask. Not the smartest thing to do for multiple reasons. One, the guy's wearing a face mask, can't hit him. But it was good accuracy on this, Mike.
Oh, it's like I said, I was impressed by it. And as is the case with most things, context matters. So depending on which side of the aisle you were on, all the clips you saw on Instagram or on Twitter rather were just the punch. They didn't show what led up to the context that led up to that. But I think you hit the nail on the head there when you talked about instinct. I think this was an instinctual reaction versus an intentional thing.
Yeah.
This isn't. It didn't lead to one of a half a dozen post-game melees that we saw this weekend. College football's got a problem with that.
It really does. I love a good field storming. Love it. But it seems like we just storm the field for anything these days. And it's kind of ruined it. I think now that those should be really outlawed. And yes, the flags planting on come on, what are we doing? We're doing it for frickin', USF beats Tulsa or something. It's all right, plant the flag. I don't know why that's the two teams I thought of, but they do it for anything. But when Bo had his push against A&M and everyone was like, oh, but that should have been called, Bo. You got away with one. We're not talking about that with Riley Mills. It's we're giving a guy the pat on the back. But I will say, for both of them, no penalty, no harm, no foul, brother. No harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul. Yeah,
no harm, no foul.
This problem where everybody's just doing the most, as the kids would say, saying everybody's doing the most, whether it's rushing the field. Yes, Nebraska beats Wisconsin not this weekend, but the weekend prior to, they rushed the field. Nebraska's 6-6. Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? And then I think all of this extracurricular stuff that you see on the field between players, that just feels like a trickle down effect from these college coaches chirping at each other. Like, and I think it starts top down. In that, like, take Brian Kelly, for example. Like, I'm keeping receipts. We're going to the national championship. Like, you have to be above that at a certain level, at a certain income level, and a certain like role, responsibility, title. You can't delve into some of that stuff or wade into that stuff rather as a head man. So I just think the players, it's somewhat of a reflection of their quote unquote leadership in this instance. But yeah, good for Riley Leonard or Riley Mills on that play. And it was funny. This is a big offensive lineman that was, tugging at his knee. Again, F around and find out. He stood up and he wanted no part of it.
Nothing. He wanted no part of it. 100%.
He wanted no part of him. He was like, okay, my bad.
Sorry, sir. Sorry. Didn't mean to. Eric, appreciate it. Joseph, $10 super chat, says, boys, thanks for all the hard work. I sat in the SC student section. Yeah, there's like 7 of you guys in there, I feel like. And I'm impressed. You gave all 6 of them hell. The punch felt like karma for the Goolsby Lendale incident and any other dirty SC stuff. Or any dirty stuff SC consistently pulls 11-1.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I agree. Yeah, what goes around comes around. 20-something years later. Yeah, it's interesting. He talked about the student section. I don't know where our jumping off point is going to be, but one of the things that I had made a note about was the atmosphere of that game.
Yeah.
I kind of assumed Singer would be 50-50 Notre Dame fans. I thought we'd see a lot more green. You could tell me otherwise if you were there, but the multiple TV copies, the Coliseum looks like ass, right? It looks rough, dude. It needs a facelift or something. It looks
They
bad.
are. Because for the Olympic, no, that's
better.
the Rose Bowl. I'm sorry, it's for the Rose Bowl. I saw the report on that. They're doing some stuff for the Rose Bowl, but not the Coliseum. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it looks bad. But I was disappointed that there wasn't more Notre Dame fans there. But with that, at the start of this game, it was very quiet in there. I mean, it's a big game, big rivalry, a lot of history, a lot on the line for Notre Dame's. USC can play spoiler. And the start of that game, man, it was like what I tweet. It's more, forget a Coliseum, it's more like a mausoleum or a museum. I mean, it was quiet in there, and I think that led to some of the clunkiness of this game. I mean, there was no juice in there, especially from the get-go.
All right, well, Joseph, appreciate it. Let's just go to your general thoughts about the game, like what you thought. I mean, it was a wild one. Like, what was it? 21-21 14-14 at halftime, but it felt like Notre Dame should have been up 2 or 3 scores. It was just a weird game, but I mean, you really can't complain too much about Notre Dame beating USC on the road by 14, covering the spread too. So Tim Hyde said to bet his mortgage. You liked Notre Dame 7.5 as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny the way that we kind of started moving the ball, in particular, running the ball, and all the credit in the world goes to Jeremiah Love because he was absolutely like the tone setter. Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool to watch. But I almost tweeted something out, Singer, like, oh, this is going to be a blowout. And then for whatever reason, I held back, and I'm glad I did because it was a hell of a game, very competitive. And Lincoln Riley can call plays. I mean, we've become so accustomed to kind of moving the ball however it comes out on the offensive side of the ball and just enjoying watching your defense hunt and execute. In this game, I mean, Lincoln Riley kind of had Al Golden's number. I mean, they were dealing.
So, Mike, on film, and I know you've been able to watch the All-22. You can check out Goolsby's Patreon, links in his Twitter bio at Mike Goolsby 41. Was there things you like when you're watching? You're like, oh man, like this is on film now. Whoever Notre Dame plays next, they're just be able to like copy some stuff from USC. Is it not? Is that a simpleton's or like a simple man's like thought on it?
No, I would say that there's some validity to that, and that in the run game, like our linebackers played very poorly. A lot of misdirection where the ball's hitting downhill, and then wherever our eyes are at. I mean, I watched the game 3 times the film since. So there are a lot of misdirection in the run game, replicable. You could do that. USC has a tendency to really spread the ball and make us run, Singer, cover sideline to sideline. That's replicable. There's a lot of talk about us playing zone coverage, which is true to a degree, more so this game than prior to.
Yeah.
You and I have talked a lot about like, Al Golden with these exotic schemes. It's like, if you don't have corners out there that can cover like they can cover specifically in man, Al Golden can't do any of this. So early in the game, there's a lot of man beaters, like a lot of underneath crossing stuff. I mean, Christian Gray got rubbed early in the game. And then beyond that, it was like whatever they were doing in terms of pass pro, we could not get home. So defense, it's it's football, right? It's the best team game ever, team sport ever, but the coverage is tied to the pass rush and vice versa. So it's like, if we can't get home, you're leaving your coverage out to dry. And if we can't cover, and then I just think really beyond that, Singer, it's like, these are different type of athletes than we probably become accustomed to playing in terms of the level of skill and the speed. So it was a kind of a wake up call for the group.
So with the adjustments, what were you able to see much of what Golden did? Like, did he make many adjustments? Because it seemed like even when Notre Dame was up like 3 scores late or whatever, and then USC tacked on the garbage touchdown, if I remember the game correctly, it was like, all right, they're still just single high safety. There's Adon Schuler in the box. Did you see much of adjustments from Golden against USC, or did he pretty much just keep pressing this button until it turns on, like, mute the TV sometimes?
I mean, you did go to cover 3 versions of cover 3, but that's funny because the scheme is the scheme, right, Singer? If we're a man pressure team, it's hard to at halftime say, hey, okay, guys, forget everything that we've done since spring ball. Like, we're gonna play zone, and there's nuance to zone. I grew up watching the Tampa Bay Bucks, the
Cover
Tony
2,
Dungy,
Tampa 2, yeah,
the Tampa 2. It's like that's all they ran. It's like, God, that's all they ran. And I'm exaggerating here,
right?
But there's nuance to it in terms of like where you're putting your eyes and how to read routes out. One of the bigger adjustments, and this is many weeks in a row, Singer, I'm going to give this kid a shout out. I'm going to start calling it like a captain call out, a little segment on the show. Captain call outs.
Get it done. Lock it in. He's writing it down. He's like,
we started playing Osbury, dude. Yeah. And Osbury almost got home twice in a row. He and KVA are our best blitzers. So I thought that was a unique adjustment in terms of like, we've been pressuring Kaiser, not so much Bowen this game, but I guess, he played a lot of snaps, but I thought that was an interesting adjustment, was to roll some different personnel through.
I like it. All right, let's go back to the super chats. Eric and Joseph, appreciate you guys again. Beaston said playoff bound. Let's freaking go. Goolsby, do you think this is the most talented roster Notre Dame's had since Lou left? I've been a fan since the late 90s and haven't seen a team this talented. Any worry about the defense too?
Okay. There's talent, but through my eyes, super chatter, it's on the defensive side of the ball. And this is like just another big picture thing. A lot of that scheme, Golden scheme on that side of the ball, we will, if it's 3rd and 11, Golden is happy to give you 8 yards in the running game. Like, there's snaps where there's nobody in the box. It's like, oh my gosh. And they'll run an inside zone or run a draw or whatever is the case. And that defense with that team speed just swarms. We wipe it out, get off the field. You can't do that. You can't run that scheme unless you have some of these athletes that he's talking about. On the offensive side of the ball, there's a few standouts in Love and Price, obviously, and Riley is an incredible athlete that we probably have come to take for granted, given his lack of a passing game. But we don't have wide receivers, and this has been a broken record over here. I mean, our wide receivers are average to below average. They just frankly are. That's when they catch the damn ball.
What did you grade them? C- or before the season? What was it? C+?
It was C minus. Yeah. Gave
Now
the corners
what would you grade them?
So
what would you grade them now?
There's a ton of talent, and that's the team that Marcus Freeman has built. It was kind of built defensively. We're sort of renting it. Ooh, built, not bought. So the defense was built. We're sort of buying the offense in terms of some transfers, at the skill positions. But yeah, I mean, we've got a problem on our hands in terms of wide receivers are just not. They're average, man.
Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more Notre Dame football and recruiting content. Believe it or not, signing day is less than 2 days away.
Are we doing something, Singer, for signing day? Yes or yes?
Yes. Sorry, I just got a text. Wednesday night, 6 or 7 Central. Probably 7 Central. Does that work?
Whatever's clever, man.
Let me text Tim. Well, I'm just so I don't forget it. 8 p.m. Eastern.
Great show so far.
I know, dude. So what the people is, it's the inside look at how we operate, brother. People love it. You gave the receivers a C before the season. In hindsight, C minus. I mean, of the receiver position, Mitchell was your leading guy and is 2 for 25. Now, granted, Leonard somehow topped the NIU throw in terms of bad interceptions. I didn't know that was possible, but that one was bad. And he admitted after the game that it was just a bad throw.
And there's we could talk about that because I think I heard you mention that where he took ownership of that. So was there a miscommunication or was it just a bad ball? Was he trying to go back shoulder?
He said it was
I kind of read that like that's just Riley falling on the sword. That's how I sort of interpreted that at the press conference. He's not going to throw his receiver under the bus in terms of a miscommunication because then it could be either party's fault.
If this were Tom Brady, I'd be like, yeah, that's Tom Brady. But this is Riley Leonard. He's a goofy dude. I don't think he has that. I don't think that's what he was thinking when he said that. I don't think he did that.
That's fair.
We do know. Appreciate the super chat.
So yeah, when we talk about this 3-week hiatus for the team, I was thinking about this as it pertains to Riley and him going way back, missing spring ball. He's involved in camp and then coming 3-4 games into this because he played so bad at the beginning of the year. I mean, we forget, but it was hard to watch. It was bad quarterback play. And then he kind of reached that baseline after 4 games where you thought maybe he would have been had he got a chance to participate in spring. You tracking with me, Singer? Yeah. So it's, to me, if I'm running that program, this is a new season. This playoff run, this is a new season. But Riley specific, it's like how much more can he get caught up in the passing game in terms of the creating the sense of urgency and the need to push the ball deep if and when the opportunity is presented. To the left, to the middle of the field, because outside of slot fades, and we saw 2 of those this game with Mitch Evans and Eli Raridan, same route. I mean, he loves the slot fade, but outside of that, you don't really trust him to throw the ball deep, given he has time. And in this game, he didn't have as much time as you'd like.
Yeah. For his think about it, Mike, for his shortcomings throwing the football down the field, and it's bad. We're fine overlooking it because he is so freaking talented when he runs the football. And it just keeps working, Mike. Knocking on wood, he's staying healthy. That was my biggest concern with him.
Yep.
And he stayed healthy. Kid takes some hits. He's diving. He's flying. I was watching half of that game with my wife, and she was like, whoa, is he supposed to get hit like that? I said, no, I think it was one of them. He did a big tumble. I'm trying to think about any design quarterback runs. There weren't many, right?
You saw a few by the goal line, and they weren't so much power.
Just goal line.
It was kind of more lead plays, yeah.
So,
well,
I don't know. I love watching him. He's fun.
And it's interesting because we'll do it this. Tim and I will do it this offseason. We'll swim upstream in regards to the wide receiver room. Because there's a lot of people that are going to tell you it's different this year, yada, yada, yada. It's like I've seen this movie 3 years in a row. And then Tim and I are going to be like, I don't know. It might you think that like Freeman bringing Riley in, it's like he knows ball. If he's looking at that wide receiver room, be like, I already brought in a true passer of the ball in Sam Hartman, and it didn't really work because we don't have guys that are difference makers at the wide receiver position. So give me a quarterback that can always make something happen. And it's just like, it's not how anybody would draw it up. It's not how you're going to play NC Top 2A, the video game. But it works, man. It does.
Yeah. Folks, we're going to talk about Homefield with Notre Dame making that run to the college football playoff. You still got some time to gear up for that. And Homefield is, it's an incredible place to do that. It's the premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis. You guys know that Goolsby and I love their clothing. I'm serious. I rock Homefield almost every single day at this point. A walking billboard for the company. Just bought my father-in-law, who's a big Wisconsin fan. Hope he's not watching the show. Just bought him a new jump around t-shirt for Christmas because this stuff's incredible. Homefield, check it out, homefieldapparel.com. You get the brand new clothing with a retro look, but no retro tears or smells. Homefield's always rolling out new stuff as well. Clothes fit great, very comfortable. Again, check out homefieldapparel.com. Check out the entire Notre Dame line. If you got friends that are fans of other schools, Homefield has licensed clothing for over 180 colleges. Like when you go down the school list, it really is crazy. I mean, Bradley, Bucknell, Buffalo, Colorado School of Mines. Like where are you getting Colorado School of Mines stuff other than at that school? Like that's actually crazy that they have that many options. And they do have a Black Friday offer that ends tomorrow. 30% off site-wide. I took advantage of it when I saw that offer and bought my father-in-law that Wisconsin shirt. Use the promo code BFCM24. I'll type it in the chat right now for those watching live. BFCM24. 30% off your order. It's not just one item or buy one, get it, 30% off, whatever. No, 30% off site-wide at homefieldapparel.com. Excuse me.
Do it.
Yep. This guy says the Mike Goolsby Show, baby. My favorite show on Blue and Gold. No offense, singer. Love you. I mean, I'm on this show, so no offense to me. No offense to me at all.
No, it's always fun where and you do feel a little bad where people will message you on Twitter, be like, "Are you doing a show tonight?" It's like, sorry, man, we got to do it tomorrow. So people look forward to it. It means a lot for sure.
Yeah, for those folks, I always will tweet out Goolsby Show 7 p.m. lock in or whatever, and then I did say. No, it's pushing it to tomorrow. My bad. It was Goolsby's bad this time. Usually it's my bad for scheduling changes. But yeah. I'll always tweet it out at Mike T. Singer. All right, let's continue on to Super Chats, Mike. Why does Riley, this is from Austin, it says, why does Riley throwing a slot fade for a TD feel like an inside joke after watching this show every week? Let's go get us one. It looks good throwing it.
Yeah, I can't speak to the inside joke piece, but it works. It's worked all year. He likes that throw for whatever reason. And this week it was to the left. So, but I just really think you kind of go into a practice. Here's the things we want to work on. Here's things we want to quote unquote clean up. But it would be fun to be like, you're going to force this kid. You know, sometimes like corners, like in drills, they'll do stuff. They'll tape their hands or whatever so they can't get grabby, right? There's all kinds of drills you can work on. Wide receiver blocking, they'll put their hands behind their back to teach them to move their feet. You're trying to create that muscle memory. It's like this stretch of practices, put I don't know. Put like an electric collar on Riley where it's like if he throws that ball under 10 yards, he's getting zinged in the neck or something. Force the issue. Make that kid push the ball just so he knows he can do it over the course because it does feel like in one of these games you're going to need to uncork a deep ball at some point.
Austin, appreciate you. And Herrick, we already talked about that earlier in the show, bro. So just rewind and watch later. Tim, $5 super chat. Appreciate you. He said, I know Mills' punch was, well, I guess we're talking about it right now. I know Mills' punch is a bad look, but doesn't it also send the message that we don't take any shit from anybody?
No, I think there's something to that. And I think that all kind of falls back in line with Freeman's shift in his demeanor and his approach and his confidence level kind of soaring. You see it. I think you see the kids having fun and the kids competing. So in a game like this, where it's like it's not salted away by the end of the second quarter, early third, like we're still in this game, that's fun for this group of young men to go out there and compete. So yeah, back to his point, not taking any S from anybody. It's like it's a real thing kind of through that group. And I think a lot of it is so much of leadership is top down, whereas like I think some of these young kids that Freeman's brought in, it's like that energy is almost going up as opposed to seniors bringing it back down. And then another just random thought that just crossed my mind, like the lack of the pass rush in this game on the defensive side of the ball to me was the key issue. As much grief as you want to give Christian Gray, it's like we didn't get home and that poor kid's on an island.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm Howard Cross and this isn't how he would have drawn up his return, coming off an All-American season, he's kind of been dinged up. He's going to have ample time to get that ankle healed up, and he should be a crazed dog come playoffs, man. I mean, he's got to be like, dude, this is exactly what I came back for. I haven't been as much of a part of this as I wanted to, but it's like, now you can. Sorry, Singer.
No, okay. You touched on the D-line, and I asked you about this earlier when we talked about the defense, but like, what do you attribute the lack of pass rush to? Is it Lincoln just getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand quicker, or in his play calling, or was it, just a better offensive line, missing Howard Cross again? Like, why wasn't Notre Dame getting home?
Well, if you look at the personnel, where's the pressure going to come from? So it's either going to come from scheme or it's going to come from personnel.
Yeah, it usually comes from scheme, right?
So outside of Traore, and you felt that way, you're really starting to feel that way about Botello. You don't really have guys that can win one-on-one. Similar to how you look at the wide receiver room. Like, you don't really have any difference makers. Bryce Young's absolutely coming along. But in terms of like edge pressure, you love Tuihalamaka, you love Burnham. They both play hard. They're both really, 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 really good football players, but they're not quite there yet as pass rushers. You're missing Howard Cross. Riley Mills has kind of been beaten up on lesser teams.
Or he's beating up on lesser teams.
Yeah.
Literally
and figuratively. So personnel-wise, against a better group in an offensive line, you weren't winning. And then scheme-wise, the ball came out quick, but as I was watching the film, there was plenty of instances where he gets that snap, 1,000, 2,000. He's holding the ball for 3 seconds. But the scheme just wasn't working.
Okay.
And then beyond that, Leo, the other thought is Jack Kaiser, love you. JD Bertrand, love you. But it's like, holy smokes, can you hold your water as a blitzer? We do not disguise blitzes. It's like, can you not? You played 65 games here. Can you not get into the flow of a cadence? They motion. Okay, the ball's like we're always, and then he backs out. He's got time to reset the protection. So there's all of that goes into it. But Osbury had a chance to bring the quarterback down twice, almost back to back. And sometimes you don't even want to. Golden doesn't even care to bring the quarterback down. He just wants to affect him, make him throw on the run or make him throw off his back foot. So,
yeah. Okay. And that quarterback took care of the ball until he.
Good player, man.
Until he didn't. But yeah, he is good.
Good player. Threw some great. And you can say what you want about Christian Gray's coverage. I mean, he threw some beautiful passes, and wide receivers went up and made some plays too.
Mm-hmm. One more thing before we go back to the super chats on the defense. This is obviously something, Mike, I'm very intrigued about and want to learn from you on. Like, Do you think any of this is a wake-up call? Like, all right, well, you're beating up on bad teams who weren't able to test you defensively. Like I feel like in Notre Dame circles, we overreact to the bad things way too much, and we overreact to the good things way too much. It's like, all right, we lose to NIU, fire everyone, but okay, we blow out Army and Navy and a bad FSU team. Hey, we should be the number 1 overall seed. Joking, but like, so I'm just curious, like, do you think this was like a knockdown to reality, or like any reason for concern going into the playoffs against, better teams than USC offensively potentially?
Yeah, this is why the Patreon platform's fun, because we can really get into the nuance, Mike. And yes, Notre Dame fans, it's all good or it's all bad. There's not really a lot of time spent in terms of like the nuance of it. Reason for concern, perhaps, man. I mean, I think USC played a great game. They're a great team. They're a better team than their record indicates. Lincoln Riley can still call plays. I could tell you, and it was real. It was palpable. Like watching the film, we were tired, dude.
Yeah.
The defensive side of the ball. And again, the way they call plays and they make you run to the ball, but we did look like we had some heavy legs. And I can tell you when we were tired, after a play was made, you sort of become accustomed to watching this defensive unit kind of celebrate as a group, right? They've got a little bit of moxie, right? They're doing a little bit extra. There was times where plays were made in this game and guys kind of have hands on hips because they're tired, man. It's been a long season. It's been, as Freeman said in the presser, 84 days. It's really been a 10 game gauntlet, and they're tired. So always room for improvement, but no, I don't think the sky's falling.
Do you kind of like that Freeman gave that? Like, all right, he knows. We've been talking about NIU's impacted him. You see it in his press conferences. Like, you can just tell that, Freeman has gone from I want to win the media and always have a big smile on my face to like go time. Like, I mean business since NIU. I know you had jotted down that particular, the 10 games in 84 days in our show notes. So, any other thoughts on that, Mike? Like, he's definitely shifted since that game.
I think that's been everything. And I was critical of Freeman earlier in the season, and I made my mind up, was like, I want to see how this Navy game plays out. And if we handle business and we play confidently, like, I am all in, right? And we'll talk about Freeman again. I'm not a big ism guy, quote of the day, coach. I played for a coach like that. But it feels like Freeman's picked 2 or 3 that he's going to run with in terms of his messaging and football character, all that. The trust without knowing, I heard him say that, trust without knowing. And that's where I approach this thing after the Navy game or leading into the Navy game. Like, I'm going to trust without knowing how this is going to shake out. That's what I've kind of implored the fan base to do, to get behind these guys. And I felt comfortable doing that because you've seen the shift in the demeanor and you've seen the shift in the way the team plays. So, and they're sort of being allowed, Mike, to have fun and compete. And this is stuff you and I've been talking about for years under Coach Kelly. It's different now. The energy's different.
We talk ball on this show, but are you okay if I throw you a curveball question about Freeman? I just want to know what you think about it. I guess you're not going to say no to that.
In general?
No, very specifically about him being rumored as a potential option for the Bears. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Doesn't make sense.
For
it Bears? Doesn't make sense in that you're trying to build. I mean, you're trying to build around Caleb Williams and your quarterback.
You're bringing a defensive coach.
It doesn't make sense. I'm more worried about Ohio State.
Yeah, their AD said that Ryan Day's their coach, so they seem to be sticking with them. I guess they're okay with losing to Michigan again next year.
When the AD came out like today and said this?
Yeah, let me find it real quick. Someone just sent it to me.
Well, if that's the case, I'm not worried about anything.
Hyde's good for Wednesday, by the way. So we got that going for us as well. Coach Day does a great job leading our program. He's our coach, end quote, from Ohio State's AD.
Yeah, It's a political. Technically, yes, he is your coach. Is he going to be your coach? That's a different thing, right?
I mean, the headline of the article: Ohio State AD issues strong support for football coach Ryan Day. Yeah, maybe.
If you're asking me about the Bears, I think it's.
Yeah.
I think it's. Don't ask me again. I think it's hogwash. I think it's baloney. The Ohio State thing is intriguing to me.
Okay. I love that the first comment under this tweet is give him an extension. It's a Michigan fan. Someone asked, what time's the show Wednesday? We're gonna go 8 Eastern. So
okay.
I love when I say things and Goolsby writes them down, especially if I have something insightful. Goolsby's like, and he writes it down. It makes me feel good. Jonesy.
Yeah, I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth half the time. So writing I always have my little post-it. It helps keep me on track.
Tim does the same thing. Tim says he has like sticky notes all over his computer monitor. So when I ask him things, he knows what to say. How about that? Jonesy says, guys, I missed you last night. Jonesy, we missed you too, brother. He says, this is the best show on YouTube. No exaggeration. Love that. Goolsby, I was whining about my 9-hour drive from North Carolina to Pennsylvania. 15 hours is brutal. How was the scenery, Goolsby? I don't like where.
So this is the thing. And I'm disappointed in myself because I had a whole thing lined up but woke up. So I was up till like 12:30 on Saturday night, a buzz about the game. I probably drank like 60 beers with my dad this weekend. We sat Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I've never watched so much football. It was amazing.
Nice.
And my parents do a great job hosting for stuff like that. But so I'm up till 12:30, set the alarm for 4:00 Sunday morning, got on the road at 4:40, and I'm driving through Kentucky and there's snow and every single bridge was frozen. So I was like, I'm still half asleep, but we made it. So stopped twice to let the dog out. It's a grind, dude. So 18 hours is my record, but 15's pushing up on it. Yeah.
Matt says, I live in Columbus. He did come out and back him.
Okay. I don't know why.
I don't either. It is wild.
Aren't you so glad you've got Marcus Freeman as your coach as opposed to that guy? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Freeman's a very likable guy. I would say even more so after he flipped his switch to go from like, let's get all this momentum and buzz out there to just like, let's just win on the field. I don't know. I like him even more. And I like him.
We'll dig into that. There's something there because he's doing so
I've been saying, yeah.
$5 bet, Singer. Do we do another movie spoof off-season promo this upcoming season? Yes or no? To your point, while you really give this a lot of consideration,
I would say yes.
Okay, I'm going to say no. $5. You're on. Virtual handshake. Put it there.
Screenshot it, everyone. Screenshot it right now. Okay, there you go. Yep. Send it. This is the only reason I say yes is they always have cameras and stuff at practice regardless. What's a few more? And it's a Peacock thing. Notre Dame literally has final say on what they put in there. So it's really just a big Notre Dame commercial.
I'm talking about the program with Estime and Hartman, the hangover thing, the Wolf of Wall Street thing. Are we doing that?
Oh, I thought you meant the documentary. I thought that's
no.
All right. Unvirtual handshake.
Got it. Because to your point, while you think
re-virtual handshake, re-virtual handshake, I still think they're going to do that stuff.
Okay, put it there.
The Shamrock Series promo, as Jay Carr says, I think they'll keep doing that.
We'll see, but I think that was too that you kind of just you glossed over that, whereas you felt like Freeman was doing a lot of hype stuff. You know, the men's fitness articles, like a lot of this hype stuff, as opposed to. And as you can tell, Freeman has absolutely been spending less time in the gym. Physically, you can tell. He's been spending more time on the grind. He's got double bags under his eyes. There's been a shift in terms of what's important to him as the head man. And I think all that came out of NIU.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a great Michael Bay story. great Michael Bay story, but I'll save it for another day. I'll tell the story.
Yes, you have to.
An old teammate of mine, we're at a nightclub in Chicago, and Michael Bay, a bunch of my buddies were there. Michael Bay was in this section, and it was roped off, and he had all kinds of bottles and big, like, ice-filled chests, like, he's putting on a show. And my buddy, who's a movie kind of savant, he was talking smack to Michael Bay about his movies because all he does is blow stuff up in his movies, like Bad Boys. It's just explosions. And then he, because he's drunk, he falls over the velvet rope, and then in so doing, like, knocks over a lot of this liquor and all this. Just imagine these big, beautiful things with ice and bottles sticking out and all this, and he knocks it all over. And he gets picked up, hands and feet, walked out of the nightclub for doing it. You would have had to been there, but for my buddies that watch this, it was hysterical.
Yeah. Now, why don't we all in the chat ask me what's my favorite Michael Bay movie? You guys know what I'll say.
Stinger doesn't go there. That's off limits.
Transformers. How about that?
Anyway,
let's
talk about Jeremiah Love real quick. Oh, we got another super chat.
Yeah, we got a few more. So, and then we'll get to Love. Great win, Goolsby. From a player's perspective, who would you want/not want to play round one? Good question.
At this point, I think, and we're not going to play him. It's a moot point because we're not going to play him depending on how the Big Ten championship shakes out. Oregon's really the only team in that sort of bracketology that would keep me awake at night. Outside of that, roll out the ball and play.
Blazing down her, appreciate it. Swandong says White Claw Mafia. Goolsby, do you like White Claws?
No. There are so many, Swandog. Put a blindfold on and throw a dart. There's so many better seltzer offerings outside of White Claw. White Claw tastes tinny. It tastes chemically.
What's your favorite?
It's awful. Around here, there's a company, we'll get an endorsement deal, Boulevard Brewery. They make Quirks. It's called Quirk. And that's a seltzer. And we used to have a pool at the old house. I've drank thousands of them. Quirk is such a better seltzer than a White Claw. White Claw is trash. It's like the McDonald's of I like McDonald's cheeseburgers. You probably do, Singer. There's a million other places to get a burger. And there's a million other places to get a seltzer other than White Claw.
Speaking of endorsements, did you ever hear back from that one guy?
Nope, still waiting on it. He hasn't even started yet.
You guys take a guess what we're talking about, and you'll probably be right. Mr. Game of Fame, appreciate the very generous $20 super chat. He says Freeman has taken an incredible step forward as a coach and as leader. Has he also assembled the best group of position coaches in the past 30 years as well? Not just at the coordinator, but at the position coaches as well. When Mike Brown's not getting a penalty, that was so funny. But might be, if the late great Lou Samoji were here, that he would be the best person to take this question. But Mike, do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, it seems like a great staff. I hyped up Mike Brown a lot going into the season.
Yeah, I can't speak to your point about Lou. I can't speak to what I did 30 minutes ago versus 30 years of Notre Dame assistant coaches. You can't do any better. Realistically, you can't do any better than what you got at coordinator. Yeah. Mike Brown's kind of to be determined. Coach Rudolph at the offensive line, can't really say because you're kind of working with a patch group unit, and a couple of those guys to me are just guys. They're serviceable. They're just guys. Next year, depending, I can't wait to keep talking about the offensive line next year in terms of moving pieces. Next year will be a real determination once you have all of that talent, potentially on the field to see what Rudolph does. You love Coach Bull as a linebacker coach. I think all Washington's done a serviceable job. So, yeah, I would say that. But I think it all starts with the coordinators, personally.
Yeah. Mr. Game of Fame, appreciate you. Mike Ryan, obvious goal is to win a national championship. What would he says major bowl win. I think it just means like a playoff win. What would a playoff win mean for the program and recruiting? Love the show. Mike, appreciate you. I mean, it would obviously mean a lot. Recruiting would mean more towards like 2026 because playoff games after signing day, which is Wednesday. still got a lot of work to do to prep for that. But Mr. Goolsby, thoughts on this?
We've said it before on the show. I don't believe that these kids, these recruits, watch the tape, like watch the games. I don't believe that. They're too busy on TikTok and Snapchat and all that other stuff.
And you know where they find the highlights on TikTok, Mike, or what they see on TikTok? It's a lot of sports highlights.
Okay, well,
on TikTok. Yeah.
So you're making my case for me. It's highlights. So until and I just really focus on the offensive side of the ball until you get splash players like you've seen from a Jeremiah Love. I don't think that narrative changes until you start putting dudes in the first, second round, until you start building stars. I don't really see that changing, but I think big picture, I've always said this, AP rankings, we're the 4th ranked team in the country, right? We need to be able to park ourselves in the top 6 teams, stamp it every year, stamp it, stamp it, stamp it. That to me is the next evolution of this program, right? So if that means you win a bowl game or you win a first round game, great. But I just think that's the next step for this program. You're not going to be the number 1 team year in and year out, but if you could pencil us in like you do in Oregon, Georgia, whoever, Ohio State, that's the next step.
Mike Ryan, appreciate you. And then one more. Mark says, who do you think at this point we will play at home? I'm not going to go through my whole unpopular opinion again. I feel like I do it every day. But I think and hope it's going to be Miami.
It's above my pay grade. I don't find it interesting to do projections when we don't. I mean, it changes every single week, so it just seems like an exercise in futility.
Yeah.
So when the brackets are out and it's all signed and etched in stone, we'll talk about it. But until then, it doesn't interest me. I'm sorry.
It interests me
every week. What's the point? I'm going to spend 45 minutes thinking about it, then it changes 6 days later. There's no point.
Tim and I love it so much, man. We spent 45 minutes on it on a Tuesday.
Yeah, leave me out of that.
To each their own. Jeremiah Love, let's talk about him.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're all Notre Dame fans, so it's hard to get a read on like the national conversation. In terms of like how is he thought about? I mean, everybody knows who Boise State's running back is, right? Ashton Genty, because he's a legitimate star. I just wonder if your average, Big Ten Midwest college football fan is aware of how talented Jeremiah Love is. And that's not to take anything away from Jadarian Price, but Love is a little bit different. And this is another thing. It's so fun, Singer, how we've been doing this for so many years. Maybe, just maybe, some of the things that I've been talking about, like, are they coming home to roost? Because we've also been talking about when so many of us became Notre Dame fans, it was because of the Rocket Ishmaels, the Michael Stonebreakers, the Tim Browns, right? The Ricky Waters, all of these
Mike Goolsby's.
No.
I said it.
And then the next generation was the Brady Quinns and the Jeff Samardzas, right? It's like, who are our stars going to be? And it's like you tried to make Audric Estime a star, but his play wasn't like star worthy. It wasn't like electric. And I just feel like, God, I hope Notre Dame in their PR department and sports information do something with that kid. A, to keep him around, but B, really drive the point home. Like, this kid is something, dude.
Love it.
Yeah. You're going to clip that.
You like my clips on social media, Mike?
Well, I don't see any kickbacks, but whatever.
I was reading chat.
Yeah, Jeremiah Loves is he got us through that first half.
Yeah.
Got us through that first half. We're going to be looking for things to worry about over the next 3 weeks. That kid's like a Wolverine, like he's probably I think he sprained his knee. Best I could tell, he's probably 100% today. He's going to be a quick healer.
I think he's going to be fine. Holy crap. Usually don't see the red for the super chat. That means it's a big boy dono from Bleed974. Donates $111. I think this is a record. 11-1 season, thanks to the great content all season. Here come the playoffs. Bleed 974. with the big boy super chat. Really appreciate you.
Oh,
Great
ask
content.
a question, Lee. Yeah, thanks for that, man. Ask a question. Great content all season. Thank you for that. As I've said, we're starting a new season now. We're into a new season. You have a 3-week layoff. That's how I'm going to approach this thing. But yeah, ask a question, please. Get your money's worth. I feel bad, but thank you.
Blee, appreciate you. Amazing generosity. Amazing super chat. Blee, I'll be looking for you in the YouTube comments. What was I gonna? MTHS had a super chat. He says, we've been wanting to host a Southern team due to weather, but Riley Leonard's from Alabama. How does the staff prepare him to play in the cold? Any concerns? Any concerns, Mike? And then I've thought about this, but like the guys are there all year. Like if you're from the South, you play at Notre Dame, you get used to it. Mike, did you have? I know you had teammates from the South. One from Alabama that comes to mind. Is that something you just adjust to?
That's so interesting. Again, Jared Clark. So Jared's from Sarasota, Florida. So we got there, big snow. I mean, because the weather in South Bend can get, it's quite a bit. And he didn't have like a proper winter coat because I don't think he had a full grasp of like how cold it can actually get. And then he went out and bought this big old winter coat, like down to his knees. And then he couldn't ride his bike because like the coat was so long. It was just funny. But yeah, I think there's absolutely an acclimation period. And they're like, oh, it's cold. Like kids from the South, like, it gets cold there. But it's like, no, it's cold for, months, right? It's months. But when you talk about specific to that game, we want it, folks, to be effing freezing. Because if it's 30 degrees, that's not really cold if you're playing as a player. Because that little jacket they give you with your own body heat, that was just back in the day. Like if I'm actually playing and I come to the sidelines and I throw that, I'm sweating inside that winter coat. Now you have heated benches, you've got all the things. So if it's just cold, that's one thing. Right. We want it to be freezing. And then if it's freezing, the wine and cheese Notre Dame crowd that's going to stand on their hands, maybe they don't come. And those tickets will go to people that are going to get off their asses and support the team. Hopefully. Have some Teeling's whiskey with Sam Hartman in the parking lot and get warmed up.
Love it. Oh, Goolsby.
You want it to be freezing if we're going to play a Southern team. 30 degrees isn't cold enough with all the technology and the help you get. We want it to be cold as balls.
I want them to play a Southern team so freaking bad. Blee says, do you think that Love and Price rotating all season have prevented Love from sustaining injury? I mean, it's a numbers game, right? Like, Mike, I mean, it doesn't hurt, obviously. Yeah,
no pun intended. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason that Coach McCullough, we talked about that before. That's what he told me, is to keep the mileage off and get these kids into the NFL and hopefully to a second contract. So yeah, there's absolutely a degree of that. Love tends to fall forward, which I think helps you as far as injuries. In so many of the things that he does, like he does it like that incredible hurdle in this game, 2 weeks in a row, you've seen him hurdle players. And even my sister, who like doesn't really watch football, we're watching the game as a family over Thanksgiving. She's just like, she couldn't believe it. She was like, oh my God. She's like, how smart you have to do to be able to do that? Like the spatial awareness is kind of what she meant. But he does things full speed and doesn't even break stride. And I'm just telling you, with this little knee sprain thing, somebody fell on the back of his knee. He just doesn't strike me as a kid that's going to be out long.
Blee, again, appreciate it. Very generous. You're awesome. Hope you have enjoyed all that content. And we'll be putting out a lot more. Herrick said, can I please have some whiskey in the parking lot with Sam Hartman and Mike Goolsby? That would be a dream come true. I don't know if there's anything I'd want more than to just be on a fly on a car tire as that happens. That would be incredible. Goolsby, what's up?
I'm just saying. Hartman's got a key to the stadium. Yeah, I can't even get tickets. I can't even get tickets for a game. So,
areas of improvement, Mike. Where do you want to see this team improve the most from now until their game? I think personally in 20 days, right? Is that the math? The 20th? Today's the 2nd? Yeah. Doesn't sound right, but yeah. I think they're going to play on that Friday night. Where would you like them to see them improve the most?
Wide receivers making play on the ball, up in the air, kind of go snatch it, compete for a ball in the air.
Can you do that in 3 weeks?
I think if you make it a point, sure.
Okay.
And then I think, and I'm half kidding, but the emphasis on Riley to uncork a deep ball, and that like in every facet of practice where it's you could apply it. I need you, and I know the checkdown's there. I need you to get accustomed, because he's always going to revert back to the short throw, right? What he knows best, what he's comfortable with. I need you to be uncomfortable the next 2-3 weeks as a deep ball thrower. I need you to kind of like legitimately force him to do that. And then outside of that, continue to work on some sort of pass rush moves. And I think that like Logan Thomas, in addition to like Howard Cross, like there might be something there with Logan Thomas. It feels like he's burned his red shirt. He's played in enough games. And I know the playoff games don't count.
He's burned his red shirt.
So that'd be another kid where it's like, if I'm Al Washington or if I'm a graduate assistant, I'm really going to pour into him, because he's the type of kid that could be like a Traore light in terms of like, I don't care about any playing the run. I don't care. We're just going to work on you as like, okay, a third down and long kind of specialist. That'd be another, just off the top of my head, place where you can improve quickly.
I want to end the show with this, Mike. And if you're just tuning in, incredible show. Just rewind. That's the great thing about YouTube. If you missed us live, you can easily just watch it from the beginning. And it's just as good as promise. I want to end the show talking about Xavier Watts. Irish Sports Daily tweeted this is the coldest photo of the year, Domini, when Watts has this, just dagger pick six, right? And he's looking over there multiple times. You can see some of these USC players on the sideline. They're like, they know, they just were like, oh man, that's a move. And Watts has been, Mike, this is his stats from 24 to 23, right? The 23 season, he was a unanimous All-American, Bronco Nagurski winner, all this stuff, right? 52 tackles last year. Right now he's got 50. So he's going to get more than 2 tackles in that first game. So it's like even amount of games, more tackles. He had a half a sack last year. He doesn't have one this year. We'll forgive him there. 1 forced fumble both years. 1 fumble recovery in both years. 5 picks this year. 7 last year. But same amount of return yards on the interceptions. 1 receiving touchdown. Come on, Singer. Interception, return, touchdown. Didn't have one of those last year. So other than 2 more picks last year, the stats are identical. A little bit more of the tackles this year after the playoff game. It's like, dude, Watts has just been incredible. And Mike, speaking of clips, one of my favorite one of yours was talking about like players just need to step up in these big games and say, this is my moment. And Watts has done that now against USC twice.
Yeah. No, and back to that whole picture says a lot. Picture says 1,000 words. When we're talking about the kids having fun, the kids actually being allowed, life at Notre Dame as a football player is hard. Freeman acknowledges this. He's packaged it. Choose hard. Saturdays is when you get to party, right? And if you win, it could be a continuation of that party. Like, that's your time to go have fun. And you see a Watts, who's a captain, an all-timer at Notre Dame at this point, talking junk to your rival up the sidelines. That's new for Notre Dame. Yes, it's new for us. And it speaks to that confidence and that level of fun. and Christian Gray, again, another one. The poor kid's had 4 drop picks this year, and then somehow makes this miraculous, incredible hands catch. And this is the closer, because I got to jump over to Patreon now. This team is flawed, dude. It is. You got a quarterback that can't really throw the deep ball, right? You got a patchwork offensive line. Some of your better players on defense are hurt, right? You're young. It's incredibly flawed, and they still continue to win. And that's why it's like a fun team to support, and that's why they're so easy to love, to me. And it's like, it ain't always going to be pretty. This one wasn't. Backs are against the wall. And team glory, that's another one of Freeman's isms. It's like Christian Gray, boom, shows up and makes a play. So in these future games, and I fell victim to it at halftime, I was a little bit stressed this week for sure. But it's like you can kind of rest easy and just say, hey, we got the identity is different where you have enough athletes that can make a play. And the vibe is shifted where it's like they're encouraged to do so. Go take ownership of that play, of that snap. Win that interval, as Freeman says.
Great way to sign off.
All right, buddy.
Might also see that on a social media clip near you. That's going to do it for this week's Mike Goolsby Show. If you have not done so yet, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content. We will be live with Goolsby next on Wednesday night, National Signing Day. If you haven't heard Goolsby talk recruiting for a while on this YouTube channel, that's going to change. We'll do that Wednesday night with myself and Tim Hyde. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Also join us live tomorrow. We'll talk about the college football playoff rankings with Tim Hyde and myself. That's going to do it, folks. Appreciate you all for watching. And as always, we will catch you next time.